According to Wikipedia, the United States federal government protects 9 classes or groups from discrimination or harassment. These are sex or gender, age, race, disability, color, creed, national origin, religion, and genetic information. Other local jurisdictions may protect additional classes, for example, sexual orientation, gender identity, skin color, native language, veteran status, and even pregnancy. And if these are not protected classes everywhere, then they should be. They are called protected classes, not minorities, because women are not a minority, and yet gender is protected under federal law. These classes are deserving and in need of protection from discrimination because they are very likely to be discriminated against, most notably in the workplace. If you are a target of workplace bullying, it is probable that you may have been targeted for your protected class. The problem is you have to prove it. One of my theories about workplace bullying is that most often targets of workplace bullying are empaths or at the very least highly sensitive people, but you don't have to be psychic to know what these people's problem with you really is. You absolutely know that people are discriminating against you because of your race, your gender, your sexual orientation, or your religion, only there is no evidence. Another one of my theories about workplace bullying is that workplace bullying is a form of narcissistic abuse. So workplace bullies are narcissists or have narcissistic tendencies. And narcissists care about one thing and only one thing in this world or in this life, and that's their image, their reputation, what they look like to other people, and what other people think of them. So they almost never do anything that can get back to them and make them look bad. There is no paper trail. Anyone who says that documenting is an effective strategy against workplace bullying really does not understand workplace bullying at all. Document what exactly? All the racial slurs that these people put in writing, in email messages sent directly to you? That doesn't happen. I was sexually harassed in the workplace. Workplace bullying is not a crime because there are no laws against it, and I do not have hope that there ever will be. But sexual harassment is, and we can argue that it is a hate crime because gender is a federally protected class. I meticulously compiled documentation for about 9 months appropriately before coming forward. I was victim blamed and shamed. I was gaslighted within an inch of my life. I was made out to be the problem and ultimately forced to quit and separated from income and gainful employment because of what my sexual harasser did to me. Documenting does not work. If anything, you have been read your Miranda rights because anything that you say can and will be used against you. One could argue that I also belong to the protected class of age. Like a lot of protected classes, it works both ways. Ageism is discrimination against not only the old, but also the young. And until recently, throughout most of my workplace bullying experience, I was always bullied by people who were older than I was, who expected me to be subordinate simply because of my age and their seniority. And that's the problem when it comes to workplace bullying and protected classes. You are expected to be inferior because of your protected class. Only spiritually speaking, you're not. And there's nothing that can be done about that. If you could pull off spiritual inferiority, then these people would not have any problem with you at all. To my knowledge, weight or body type is not a protected class anywhere, but it should be because weightism is very real, and like ageism, it works both ways. People are discriminated against because they are heavy or curvy. They're also discriminated against because they are skinny. Although you probably can't tell, I have spent most of my life a little bit on the thin side and had eating disorders, which made me even thinner than I normally am. Now, body type is highly culturally relative. I'm sure if I lived in France or Japan, no one would call me skinny. But I do come from a city that I believe has had the dubious distinction of being called the fattest city in one of the fattest countries in the world. I don't know if I have been targeted for bullying in the workplace because of my low body weight alone. So you tell me, do you feel as an adult that you have been bullied for being a small person? I don't really want to believe that I am living in a world with people who are so superficial, shallow, primitive, low level, and literal minded that as adults, they are still beating up on the little guy on the playground. But I wouldn't put it past anyone who's ever bullied me in the workplace. I do know that when it comes to the physical body alone, I have been bullied ad nauseum in the workplace simply for being sick. I've lost count of the number of times that I have been viciously ridiculed and smeared for being sick, all while countless clients and even colleagues were sick with exactly the same symptoms at exactly the same time. And I have even been fired on multiple occasions immediately following an extended period of time during which I was away from the workplace because of illness. Your leave of absence from work due to sickness is an excellent opportunity for narcissistic bosses to get rid of you because they realize that they don't really need you and they have time to prepare your firing, so you can't win. You're darned if you do, darned if you don't. If you go to the workplace and risk infecting other people, you will be bullied for it, but if you stay home in order to keep others safe, you risk being fired for it. I often failed to understand how I could be working with people who are so, sick. And like my issue with my thinness, I struggled to comprehend it. But I do believe that workplace bullies may be so superficial and literal-minded and so trapped in this 3D matrix, earthly, mundane, physical, material reality where they experience life exclusively through the five senses without any imagination, creativity, or even abstract thought, that all they have is the physical body and may erroneously conflate physical weakness with intellectual and or emotional weakness. In other words, if you're thin or you're sick, apparently, even though you work in an intellectual profession, you don't have the strength to do your job. If you are a member of a protected class, and you probably are, you absolutely know that you are bullied in the workplace because you are black or gay or Muslim or a woman or big. And it could be some combination thereof, or maybe all of the above. I do not doubt your reality because there is no gaslighting on this channel. But what if you are not a member of any protected class? What if you are just different? I call it being different by default. If you are no stranger to my channel, you know that much of the bullying that I experienced in the workplace was when I was working as an instructor of English for adult internationals. And one of the things that we teach English language learners is something called collocations. Basically, a collocation means that certain words always go with other words, usually prepositions. For example, we say, I am married to, I am interested in, it depends on. One of the things that has always driven me insane about spoken American English is that people habitually say it is different than. That is not correct. Yes, I am the Nazi English teacher. Different than is wrong. In the UK and Australia, I believe people say different too, but in America, it should be different from. Than is a word for comparisons. It is better than, bigger than, more beautiful than, more intelligent than. Different is not a comparison. Different is not better or worse. Different is just different. Being different does not mean that you are a vegetarian or dye your hair a funny color or have an interest in astrology. Being different means that you think differently and you derive energy in ways that are different from how other people do. So here we go again with our belief system and our value set. The target of workplace bullying has a different set of values than the bullies do. You don't derive pleasure from mean-spirited, malicious gossip and ridicule that pillories and vilifies people for having the common cold. You're not getting into all the drama and the nonsense and the gossip, Or maybe you're just not really into the empty, vapid, soulless values of Western capitalist society, of food, money, sex, image, body, 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 not necessarily in that order, wash, rinse, repeat, cycling and recycling, like gerbils on a treadmill through the lower levels of Maslow's hierarchy, where apparently the only things that people can find to talk about are how they make their money or how they spend their money. Jiddu Krishnamurti said, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society." Maybe you feel energized and inspired after a riveting intellectual conversation about politics and art with a fellow empath. Maybe you enjoy the beauty of the natural world while we still have it. Or maybe you like to create beautiful things to put out into the world to help other people. If you're no stranger to my channel, you know I do have an interest in astrology. I am an Aquarian with Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, in the first house. The signs get increasingly complicated as you move through the zodiac. So Aquarius has a lot going on. But if I were to summarize Aquarius in 2 words, I would say it is eccentricity and humanitarianism. Now, how do those two go together? Well, you can't love humanity if you are wearing the same false mask that narcissistic workplace bullies wear all the time. You can't accept others if you don't accept yourself, all of yourself. Aquarius, the great master lover of humanity, not only accepts the innate weirdness in all of us, he celebrates it. Uranus has been called the freak of the solar system, and I have lost count of the number of times I have been called weird, strange, and yes, even freak directly to my face or within earshot, along with the associated colorful expletives, and I'm sure that that pales in comparison to what was said about me behind my back. Indeed, when it comes to workplace bullying, being different is perhaps the least protected class of all. So that's a summary of a point I want to make about discrimination against protected classes as a cause of workplace bullying. If you'd like to read more, I've written an essay on workplace bullying. It's on my website. I include that information in the description. The reason I create this video series is to establish a forum where targets of workplace bullying can share their stories and experiences in a kind of support group, so you can know, number one, you're not crazy. Workplace bullying is real, and your feelings are perfectly valid and justified. And number two, you're not alone. Unfortunately, countless others have experienced the same thing. So I look forward to reading your comments, and I'll try to respond. Take care.